The opera ghost was the creation of a Frenchman, Gaston Leroux. Lawyer, journalist, author of many fantastic novels, but none so enduring as The Phantom of the Opera. First published in 1910, Phantom became a popular success. It told the story of Eric, a horribly disfigured musician who dwells in the catacombs beneath the Paris Opera House, and his unrequited love for a singer named Christine. When his passion is thwarted, a reign of terror ensues. A primary inspiration for Leroux's book was an earlier novel, George du Maurier's Trilby. It told the story of Svengali, a maestro of mesmerism, who possesses the soul and voice of a beautiful young singer. Carl Laemmle, president of Universal Pictures, bought the film rights to Phantom for actor Lon Chaney to follow Chaney's phenomenal success in The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
It had all of the elements and the ingredients for a rip-roaring melodrama. And of course, the main thing is, it was a perfect vehicle for Lon Chaney as a follow-up to The Hunchback.
Lon Chaney was one of the finest character actors, and he was notable mainly because he was such a great artist at makeup. They called him the man of 1,000 faces.
His range was incredible, and of course he was perfect for silent movies because he could express in pantomime so much without having to speak.
Like Hunchback, Phantom would be a tremendous undertaking for a small company like Universal.
There was a great emphasis on westerns, on comedies, on things that rural audiences would like.
Laemmle first intended to shoot on location in France, but he finally brought Paris to Hollywood, and the opera rose up at Universal City in the shadow of Notre Dame.
It was a very elaborate, very expensive production, and the stage was an exact replica of the Paris Opera House.
The set for the Opera House was actually newly constructed for the 1925 version, and it was one of the first, if not the first, steel structure sets built on the Universal lot. And it was quite a deal at that time. And because it was such an incredible set, they were able to use it time after time for many productions, including the 1943 production.
The Phantom stage, art directed by E.E. Sheely and Sidney Ullman, perfectly duplicated the Paris original, but no one at Universal knew what the backstage and cellars looked like. Ben Carré, a French artist now in Hollywood, had worked at the Paris Opera and was called in to help. His English unintelligible, Carré spoke fluently with charcoal. A grateful Universal thanked him, and Carré moved on to his next assignment. Nearly half a century would pass before Carré would actually see the film and learn how carefully his designs had been executed. Such an exquisitely designed production required an especially attractive leading lady. The coveted role of Christine went to a relatively unknown ingenue named Mary Philbin.
Mary Philbin and I were neighbors in Chicago. She was 6 years older than I, but a beautiful, beautiful girl, just exquisitely beautiful. And at the time, Universal was having a beauty contest, and my father urged her to send a picture, and she did, and she won a contract. Mary was not of this world, really, not of this age. She was extremely shy. She was a lovely, sweet, gentle human being.
Lon Chaney's screen persona was the complete antithesis of Mary's, the beast to her beauty. And although Chaney was unparalleled as a master of grotesque makeup, Phantom would put even his talent to the test.
The concept of the death mask comes from the book. So this is Christine describing to Raoul. Suddenly, I felt a need to see beneath the mask. I wanted to know the face of the voice. And with a movement which I was utterly unable to control, swiftly my fingers tore away the mask. If I lived to be 100, I should always hear the superhuman cry of grief and rage which he uttered when the terrible sight appeared before my eyes. I fell back against the wall, and he came up to me, grinding his teeth. And as I fell upon my knees, he hissed mad, incoherent words. Leaning over me, he cried, "Look, you want to see? Feast your eyes, glut your soul on my cursed ugliness."
To create the illusion of a living skull, Chaney had taken inspiration from a book illustration by Andre Castaigne, which only partially revealed the Phantom's face. An exaggerated skull cap raised his forehead, and his cheekbones were exaggerated with putty. Further distortion was achieved by wadding, inserted into either side of his mouth. Small prongs attached to a set of decaying teeth created the perpetual grin of a death's head and held the mouth open. The makeup's most startling feature, a skeletal nose, was intensified for close-up shots by means of a wire appliance, partially visible in these photos, inserted into his nostrils, then pulled, taut, and hidden by putty. According to cameraman Charles Van Anger, the device often caused significant bleeding.
Well, it was pretty ghastly, and when he was unmasked, so to speak, it was a real shock.
For Carl Laemmle's niece, Carla, who lived with her parents on the backlot, life at Universal was never more exciting than during the production of Phantom.
And when I was 16 years old, they were making the Phantom of the Opera, and I was chosen to be the prima ballerina, which was quite a big thrill to me.
Phantom's director, Rupert Julian, was also thrilled. After 10 routine years as an actor and director with Universal, the former Percival T. Hayes, son of a New Zealand pub owner, had landed in clover. Having replaced Erich von Stroheim on Merry Go Round, which had also starred Mary Philbin and Phantom leading man Norman Carey, Julian was now the studio's star director, dignified, sartorial. With an impeccable waxed mustache, he was very, very strict, and also very mediocre. Almost immediately, Rupert alienated crew and cast alike. Phantom cameraman Charles Van Anger personally recounted the details to film historian Rudy Belmer in 1962.
The eyes went heavenward, and he said that Rupert Julian and Lon Chaney, after the film had started production, did not get along at all. And in fact, it got to a point where Mr. Van Anger was the kind of go-between, and that the two of them didn't speak.
With Van Anger the messenger boy, Chaney sent word to tell Rupert to go to hell. Van Anger cautioned Julian to beware lest an arc lamp accidentally drop from the rafters. Norman Carey, on horseback one day, became so angry at Julian that he charged the director's platform, riding down the cameras. Julian's wife, Elsie Jane Wilson, punctured his pomposity constantly, endearing her to the crew and smoothing production considerably. If the behind-the-scenes battles were colorful, so was the film itself. The new two-color Technicolor process was used for scenes of spectacle and pageantry. With over $500,000 spent and the New York opening set for February 1925, a January preview was a disaster. Laemmle fired his general manager. Rupert Julian walked out. Director Edward Sedgwick, a Western specialist, reshot 60% of the film. Action and comedy would save the day. Norman Carey now had Ward Crane as a Russian count to duel with for Mary Philbin's affections, and comedian Chester Conklin to duel wits with. In April, San Francisco got an eyeful. Gales of laughter greeted the movie. The story drags to the point of nausea, said one critic. The picture was pulled. Laemmle fired the new general manager and entrusted Phantom's salvation to a woman, director Lois Weber. She supervised the cut and paste of all Phantom footage. In the preview version, Eric's soul had been redeemed by Christine's kiss, and he died literally of a broken heart. Western director Sedgwick had preferred frontier justice. Lois Weber cut to the chase. The Phantom of the Opera finally opened in September. Final cost, $632,000. It was a sensation, grossing more than $2 million. It was one of the last hurrahs of the silent cinema. Then in 1927, everything changed. Movies had found their voice.
Universal was so delighted with the reception of The Phantom of the Opera that they naturally, when sound came in, one of the thoughts was, let's do it again with sound.
The return of the Phantom was announced. All talking, all singing, all Technicolor, but no Chaney. The man of 1,000 faces resisted becoming the man of 1,000 voices. When Lon Chaney did speak, it would be for Louis B. Mayer, not Carl Laemmle. Universal's talking Phantom required some technical sleight of hand. Universal retrofit the original Phantom in sound. Prohibited by contract from dubbing Chaney's voice, Universal simply wrote his dialogue in the third person, as if delivered by an emissary, and looped it only over shots of his shadow, avoiding mouth synchronization.
Don't be afraid. No harm shall come to you, Christine. The master is waiting. Walk to the mirror. Have no fear.
40% of the film was reshot in synchronous sound. Trade papers called the results breath-talking. But the microphone rang down the curtain on the careers of both Mary Philbin and Norman Carey.
You know, I wonder what prompted them to give you this chance.
Why, my voice, naturally.
The new opera inserts were weekly staged by director Ernst Laemmle, filmed by locked-off cameras.
She's singing, it brings down the chandelier.
The Technicolor sequence made a return engagement. And so did Lon Chaney, even if his lips were contractually sealed. Remade and reborn at an additional cost of $113,000, the new Phantom of the Opera grossed $419,000 worldwide. Welcome money indeed for Universal in the first year of the Great Depression. The Phantom of the Opera in sound opened January 4th, 1930. 3 weeks later, Lon Chaney signed with MGM for his first and only talkie, The Unholy Three. But 6 months later, the man of 1,000 faces was dead. The silent cinema died with him. Universal soon established itself as Hollywood's leading house of talking horror.
I am Dracula.